Today's teacher read aloud is titled Thomas Alva Edison by Tamara Bryant, illustrated by Lori Jordan. Thomas Alva Edison was born in 1847 in Milan, Ohio. His father was a carpenter. His mother was a teacher. The Edisons had 4 other children. Thomas Alva was the youngest. He was called Al. The Edisons moved to Michigan when Al was 7. Al began school in Michigan, but his teacher said he was slow. Al's mother took Al home and taught him herself. Al was full of questions. He wanted to know how things worked. Al's mother gave him a book about science. Al loved that book. He wanted to try all the experiments. He set up a workshop in the basement. He filled it with batteries, wire, and bottles of chemicals. He spent all his free time there. When Al was 12, he went to work. He sold candy and newspapers on the train to Detroit. He had a long wait for the train to go back. But he didn't waste the time. He set up a lab in one of the train cars. He did experiments while he waited. Every train station had a telegraph office. A telegraph was a small machine that made clicking sounds. The clicks stood for letters. One machine sent clicks along a wire to a second machine far away. Someone working at the other end took the message. One day, Al saw a little boy on the tracks. A train was coming. Al ran onto the tracks and pulled the boy out of the way. "How can I ever thank you?" the boy's father asked. Al knew the man was a telegraph worker. "You can teach me to run a telegraph," he said. Edison learned to send and receive messages. Soon he was working in a telegraph office at night, but he had trouble staying awake. He used a clock to build a timer. It sent messages for him while he slept. The timer was Edison's first invention. When Edison was 22, he quit his job. He became a full-time inventor. Edison had always liked to take things apart and put them back together. He looked for ways to make things work better. He wanted to make things people could use. One thing Edison made better was the telephone. Alexander Graham Bell had invented a phone that could carry a sound for 2 miles. Edison made a new part for the phone. The part made the sound clearer. It also made the sound go farther. Next, Edison built a machine that recorded sound and played it back. This machine was the phonograph. It was his favorite invention. Do you know the rhyme, "Mary Had a Little Lamb"? It was the first sound ever recorded. Inventors had been working with electricity and light bulbs for a long time. People wanted electric lights in their homes. Edison worked day and night. At last, he was able to make a safe electric light bulb that would burn a long time. Edison also invented a movie camera and a movie projector. He built the first movie studio, too. His company made a movie called The Great Train Robbery. It was one of the first movies that told a story. Thomas Edison was a busy man. These are just a few of his inventions. 1875, the electric pen. 1877, the phonograph. 1891, movie camera and movie projector. 1879, the electric lamp. Thomas Edison died in 1931, but his inventions changed our world. Think about all the things he invented that we use every day. The next time you turn on a light, watch a movie, or listen to a recording, take a minute to say, "Thanks, Al." Yes, Thomas Edison is one of the most famous inventors in American history, and you can visit some of the buildings he built, worked in, and created inventions in at Henry Ford's Greenfield Village in Dearborn, Michigan. My wife and I were lucky enough to get a chance to visit there in the summer of 2018. Henry Ford, the inventor of the Model T automobile and the assembly line, worked for Thomas Edison for a while and stayed really good friends with him his whole life. When Mr. Ford decided to build his Henry Ford Museum, he asked Thomas Edison if he would join him at the groundbreaking ceremony. The shovel Mr. Edison used remains on display inside the museum with his autograph. When you visit Henry Ford's Greenfield Village, next door to the museum, you'll see many buildings related to Thomas Edison. For example, you'll see a replica Edison power station, similar to the one Henry Ford worked at. You can walk through his grandparents' house, where he spent a lot of his time as a young boy. You can walk through his laboratory that he once owned in Fort Myers, Florida. But one of the best experiences that gets you as close to Thomas Edison as you can get is walking through his Menlo Park complex he built in New Jersey. This is where many of his most famous inventions were created. One of the most interesting things I learned about Thomas Edison's Menlo Park complex at Greenfield Village is that since Thomas Edison and Henry Ford were such great friends, Edison told Ford that he could have the complex for his village after he died, but he had to reconstruct it exactly as it was laid out in New Jersey, and that it had to remain on New Jersey soil. So when Henry Ford moved it to his village, he dug up the dirt that was under the complex and brought that to his Michigan site as well, keeping his promise to his friend that his Menlo Park complex would remain on New Jersey soil. If you get the chance, you should visit this amazing museum and complex.